Welcome to Stuck in My Mind podcast, the show where we dive into the mind of a regular guy on his road to self-discovery. You'll hear everyday people just like you share the latest topics, personal stories, and things they've learned along the way. And now, please welcome your host, Wise.
And welcome to another episode. I am your host, WIZE, and I have a very special guest on today. She's a fellow podcaster. She's also an international speaker, business negotiation strategist. Welcome to the show, Christine McKay.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be here. Great to see you today.
Oh, yes, it's a great day. I've since my podcast and everything, every morning I wake up, because I also have a day job. I'm a table games dealer during the day, which I just came out of work at 12. So I work the graveyard shift 4 to 12.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, but I wake up every morning. The first thing I do is just sit down right here on this desk and just, I don't know, I guess it's my form of meditation, and just sit here in silence and then get ready for my day. Like just talk about in my head, talk about how my day is going to go, hop in the shower, have my cup of coffee, and then head to work. And since I've been podcasting, I just want to hurry up and get to my day so I can get home and do what I really want to do, which is this. And it's just, every day is just a great day.
Podcasting is such an amazing gift to be able to do. I know I learned so much from my guests, and I just enjoy the process of it so much, putting it together, figuring out what the angles are with the guests. And it's just such an amazing thing to be able to do. So I share your excitement and enthusiasm for being a podcaster.
Yes, it's an amazing thing. I didn't know I was going to love it this much. I didn't know I was going to be so passionate about it. When I first started, I had a little Behringer studio that I purchased in 2019, and I didn't use it. I was just making excuses. Oh, I'm going to do it tomorrow, or I don't like the way I sound. I would record something and delete it, And well, when we had the situation last year with what's still going on, the pandemic and everything,
yeah,
I was furloughed. I just be trying to keep that out of my, but I was furloughed from my job, and I just needed something to do, because the wife had a big to-do list for me, and she's like, "Oh, you don't have nothing to do? Okay, here you go." So I had to find something to do. And I just pressed record one day with me and my nephew talking, and that's how the podcast was born. But
that's awesome.
I'm excited. I love to speak to people. I've had so many great conversations, so many amazing people. Like within the last 2-3 months, it's the guests that I've been having come on have been awesome.
That's awesome. I share that. Like I said, I just learned so much, and it's such a great way to make a personal connection with somebody and kind of elevate your ability to have a great relationship with them over a long period of time, which is you can't do in a lot of ways, in a lot of places. So it short circuits the relationship development process.
Yep. All right, but enough about me. We're here to talk about you. And actually, you're a podcaster. It's the Venn Zone podcast. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I am, like you said, I am a business negotiation strategist. So I've been doing negotiations for almost 30 years. I hate admitting that, but it's true. But in the course of my negotiations, I got frustrated about how small and mid-sized companies just don't have access to information and training the way that larger organizations do. And so part of why I launched In the Venn Zone was so that I could bring guests to that audience to show them that there's a different way of negotiating, that there's a different way of asking for more and actually getting what you want out of your business and out of life. And so that's really what the show is about.
That's awesome. For me was when I first started. Like my first few episodes was me talking about work, talking about the news, talking about all the nonsense that was going on with the election and everything else. And I didn't enjoy those podcasts. It wasn't until I was able to
Mm,
sit down with guests and be able to share some positivity, not just focus on all the craziness and all the nonsense that was going on. It wasn't till then that's when I really started loving the podcast. Is that your dog?
yes, I have a new puppy. And so she climbed into my booth before we started recording. And now she's being obnoxious and going, get me out. You can open the door next. The door's open. She's just like sitting there going, oh, let me out. Let me out. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
There.
listen,
And now
this is
she's gone.
fine. This is what happens. This life, man. That's I
It
don't
is.
mind.
It is.
Like
It is.
I
I
had
have had,
I've had my nephew when me and my nephew do it. He has his son running around, and we hey, I'll talk to him and say hi to him, and it's just part of we keep it in. We don't edit it out. We keep it in because it's
yeah.
life, man.
I
I
mean,
want
many of
people to
us are
realize,
working
hey, I'm
from
just like you. We live regular lives just like you. Kids
exactly.
walk in on everything. It's all good.
Exactly. Yeah, and she's only 4 months old, so she's kind of needy right now. So she usually jumps up and says hi. So you might actually see her if she comes back in. So she's an
But
awesome dog.
that's awesome. That's good. But yeah, man, I don't even I don't edit it out because, like I
That's
said,
awesome.
I want I want people to just realize, hey, it's real. This why get upset over it or why even let it bother you? Things happen.
Yeah, it's interesting because different podcasters have different views on it. So there are those podcasters who have very regimented, structured, they tell you down to the detail of what mic to use, what this to use, I mean, just all that kind of stuff. And then there's people like us who are just like, yeah, whatever happens, happens. It's
Yeah.
all good. Unless you say something you really don't want to say, then we edit that part out. But overall, just let it
Yes.
go. Just like that's part of the fun about it. That's part of what makes podcasting so much different than like doing like traditional radio, right? Because
Radio. Yeah.
traditional radio, you do have more of a structure, more of a hierarchical professionalism, I guess I'd call it. Whereas podcasting, you're especially now, right? It's just I'm in your living room. You're in my living room, right? And it just like it creates a different way of having a conversation. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, it wouldn't be me. Like I couldn't I couldn't do that. I'm not a structured person like that. I just like to go have a good time. I'll ask a couple of questions, but for the most part, I just want that person to be comfortable, and then the conversation just flow naturally. They'll talk about their business,
Exactly.
and we'll just have a good time and talk about whatever else was going on.
Exactly.
Yeah. So besides the podcast, like we was discussing, a business negotiation strategist. What
Mhm.
exactly is that?
So when company people in companies, because you always negotiate with people and you're never negotiating with a company, um, it could be a customer relationship or supplier relationship, real estate, maybe they're selling their business or buying a business. And I help them think through how to do that in the most profitable way, and build long-term relationships at the same time. So I look at everything from overall strategy to contracts. I teach negotiations. I have a program that I teach called Venn Masters. We use like lots of different things like literature and music and film to help people really get a different perspective on what negotiation is and different ways of doing it that are not necessarily traditional in the market. And so, yeah, I've negotiated across the globe. I've negotiated in 53 countries and worked with a lot of big Fortune 1,000 companies, but really love working with smaller organizations, helping them essentially level the playing field in their negotiation and helping them ask for more of what they want and then showing them how to get it. And that's a lot of fun when they're able to do that.
I would think it would be much more fun because it's a little bit more intimate. You really get to get to know these people and know who they are and how they are. So it's I feel like, to me, being able to interact really closely to the owner of the company, like, and like if it was a big company, you would probably deal with a certain person that dealt with that specific whatever it was. But at least here with a small business, so you really get to know the business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I work with a lot of business owners and founders of organizations. And, the thing that I love about the work that I do is that I bring a different perspective on the deals that they're in. I'm not as emotionally tied to the outcomes, which allows me to ask questions that my clients may not ask because they're afraid to ask. They're afraid if I ask for that, if I ask for more of this, then that big customer is going to walk out the door and they're not going to do business with us. So I take the noise that's in their head and create a strategy that shows them you can get what you want. We just have to figure out how to do it in a way that's creative. And so that's a lot of fun because it's exciting to see people realize the possibilities and not tell themselves and live in the world where they're telling themselves I can't or they won't, but instead saying, how might we do this? How might we make this deal an amazing deal for both of us, and how can we make it even better, kind of things. And that's really exciting for me.
Yeah, that definitely would be exciting. Like I said, it's exciting because, especially if you help them get something that they wanted but were afraid to ask, and you
Mm-hmm.
actually went out and got it for them. And sometimes that's what it is. It's just people are just afraid to ask. And I guess you come in and you're in there and you come in and like, no, let's ask for it. Let's go. What can they say? No.
Right. And no is I often say that except in sex, where no means no, no
Yeah.
is simply an invitation to ask another question. And it's part of why I wrote my book, which I just released last week, called Why Not Ask? A conversation about getting more. And it's why not ask? I mean, no is a perfectly acceptable answer. It leads you down a different direction. People react negatively to a no response because they think that it shuts down the whole conversation, but it doesn't. It shuts down one avenue of a conversation, but it opens up a lot of others. And we just need to be curious enough to explore, what does that no actually mean? What is somebody saying no to? What specifically are they saying no to? And are there other things that, if they're saying no to this, are there other things that they could be saying yes to instead? But as we've gotten older, I mean, little kids are great at this. 7-year-olds are like master negotiators, and every one of us was a kid, right? And we used to, now my dogs are going at each other. And so, we all used to be super good at this, but as we got older, we started hearing no more frequently. And so we started getting afraid to ask. And every one of us, whether it's me as a professional negotiator, people in relationship management, anything, we all are afraid to ask for what we want at different points in time. And when we explore the rationale for why that is, and we give ourselves grace to say, okay, why, and stay curious about ourselves, and then give ourselves permission to say, well, what's the worst thing that would happen if I asked anyway, right? And generally the worst thing that's going to happen is really not that bad at all. And what happens if they actually say yes to my request? That's a totally different conversation. Yeah, my dogs are now going at each other. Gotta love it.
Yes, you do.
So yeah, so that's part of why I really like negotiation. For me is all about the relationship. um I often say you know negotiation is nothing more than a conversation about a relationship, and you can't win a relationship, but you can get more value out of it. And when you use that as the focus and the lens for which you evaluate a negotiation, then it gives you a lot of freedom and a lot of latitude to explore lots of different options.
That's awesome. I and I can see you love what you're doing because you look like I look when I talk about podcasting. I just have this big smile across my face, and people be like, "Oh, I see you really do love it." It's just when you find something that you're passionate about, that you enjoy doing, that it's not work to you. It's something that, hey, I love doing this.
Hmm.
It's not. I can do this all day. So when you're able to do that and find what you're good at and what you love to do, run with it. Like I wish everyone could find what they're passionate about because the world might
Yeah.
be a better place.
Oh, I agree. I mean, when I'd finished business school and I did some career advising work for a while. And one of my mentors in that world said to me that he said, most of us know what we love to do by the time we're 16 years old. We just don't have the language to articulate it, to say it. And the adults around us have a limited world of their knowledge and experience, so they don't know either. So we know what we love to do, but we just don't have the words to describe it. And the adults who have just this certain set of language, they say, oh, you're good in math, you should go be an engineer, or you should go do this. Oh, you're good at writing, you should go do this. But there's so many things. I mean, I knew when I was young that I wanted to be a negotiator, but it's hard to find a job description that says negotiator. I mean, it's a piece of a job, but it's like that's what I do, And so, you know, I think I wish that more people gave themselves permission to go back into that time when they were kids and say what got me through high school, right? Because a lot of us hated high school. Some people really liked it, but that's actually a smaller percentage. But even still, there was something that got us through high school, whether we loved it or whether we hated it, or something in between. And what was that? What about that thing that got you through that really challenging period of time in our lives that you can lean into now as an adult and go, oh, I love public speaking. That was one of the things that got me through high school, was public speaking. And so I do a lot of public speaking now because I've made that part, and negotiating is just public speaking in a different way. And so kind of connecting with that and exploring that is one way for people to kind of say, how do I make sure that I'm doing things that I really love to do? And that's one of the ways to do it.
Yeah. Me, with just in the year alone, I'm always talking about it. I've added so many different skills, and I've started editing. I've been editing my own podcast. Eventually, I guess I'm gonna start doing video editing now.
Yep.
um, I promote. I do my own promotion. I do my own cover art. I do everything. I upload everything. And this just me wanting to learn. And if I don't know anything, if I don't know something, I have a great team. I have someone who might know the answer. Hey,
Yep.
I need this help. Okay. And that's what's so great about the podcasting community is I've met so many people that are so willing to help me. Like they're like, hey, I see you had some issues with this. Here, this is how you solve it. Or if I have a question, I know I can reach out to a couple of people and be like, hey, I'm this such and such happened. What do you think? And they'll give me their honest opinion, and it's just been great because the relationships I've been able to build in just such a short time.
Hmm. Podcasters are amazing that way. I mean, and Yeah, I find that too, that when I connect with podcasters, there's just a there's just this real willingness to help. I mean, there's right there, what, as of this year, the January, there were 2 million podcasts, in the world. And it's like every podcaster wants to make every other one of them just wildly successful. And it's just this really collaborative community, and it's really cool to be part of it, and ask. And but it goes back to, you also need to know what you're asking for their help, right? You get specific with what it is that you're asking for, and
Yeah.
that helps them provide you with the greatest level of advice and go into their own experiences to pull out the stories and experience that's gotten them through that issue that you're encountering at this point in time, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so why not ask?
Yeah. You're absolutely
Exactly.
right. Why not? Why not
Yeah,
ask?
exactly.
Like with me, when I first started, right? Of course, I had to go out and get my guests. I had to go, and I just started reaching out to people. So a lot of people said no. They're like, the first thing they would ask, "What are your numbers?"
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just starting out, dude. My numbers ain't the greatest. Oh no, and then I would get ghost. But then there would be people that would be like, "Oh, I would love to be on your show." Yeah, and that just, like I said, what can they say? No, then all right, I just move on. And now it's starting to get to the point where I'm checking my email. People are sending me, "Hey, I heard your show. I would love to be a guest on your show." I'm like, okay, cool. And I try to work with. I'll read up on people, and if they don't fit, they don't fit. I won't force them on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, everybody I've interviewed has been cool. I probably have one or two that I haven't released, but I've recorded over almost 200 episodes.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah, and you started in 2019, you said, so you're almost
No, I
2 years.
started last year. I started
Oh,
I
last
bought
year.
my
Okay.
I bought the studio in 2019 with the intention of starting a podcast with a friend of mine. We was going to do a sports podcast, and him and his girl got pregnant, so they had a baby. So that knocked him out of it with a newborn in it. So it was just me. And then when I got furloughed, my nephew had already been starting his YouTube channel, and I was like, man, I really got to get this podcast going. And one day we was just sitting here talking, and it was great because it's not the setup I have now. I have a pretty good setup now. Back then, it
Mm-hmm.
was just a little mixer with a mic. My not even I didn't even have a desktop. I had a laptop, and I had my phone up to the mic because I was talking to my nephew on the phone. I had it up to the mic and him talking through the phone into the mic, and that's what we did, like 5-6 minutes, and that was the first episode. And he was like, "Oh, you're not gonna release that, right?" I said, "Yeah, I am." He says, "Why? Let's keep practicing." And I said, "Nah, man. I want people to see how we've come from where we started. I want them to
I
realize
love that.
this this is where we started, but look at us now. Look how we sound now. Look how the production and the quality is so much better." And
Mm.
that's just the growth. And that's what I want people to see is that, hey, listen, they look how they started, look how they sounded when they started, and now look how I sound now.
See, I
It's
love
night and
that.
day.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is that, right? So, one of the guests on my podcast, her name is Hannah Zaplatel, and she owns a small horse ranch and farm outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And she grew up in Haiti, where her parents were missionaries. And she told this wonderful story about how when she was growing up, that people in Haiti used hoes and shovels and scythes to do their farming. But well-meaning people from the international community came in and brought tractors. And the people were like, what the hell do I do with this thing, right? Because they can't go from a hoe to tractors.
That's right.
It's like it's a mind mess, right? It's like, what the heck, what? And so one of the things she and I talked about was the need to make incremental change. And what you've done is you've shown people what your incremental progress has been in terms of your show. And that's huge, because as one of my friends says, done is better than none, or done is better than perfect, right? And life is messy. So why not just enjoy the messiness of it? Enjoy the process of getting there. And that's one of the lessons that I've really taken to heart in the pandemic, is to really enjoy the process. The results are great, right? It's great when you get wonderful reviews and you see your audience numbers increase, or for me, having just released my book, my book sales, right? That's awesome. But I'm loving the process of getting there. And that in and of itself has made a monumental change in how I approach things. Just being able to sit and say, oh, I'm in the process. I'm just trusting the process, and I'm just going to enjoy this moment in the process in all its messiness, in all its imperfection, and just rejoice in it, because that's what life is about. Life isn't about the results. It's literally about the journey. And, the result is we're all going to die. I guarantee that is the result. Right?
Eventually, no time soon.
Not today. Not hopefully not today. But enjoy the process of your life. Enjoy the journey of it, and find joy in that part, because that's where the stories are, and that's where life is in that journey. And so that's me, kind of getting up on a soapbox about it.
Oh
But
no,
it's a huge
I'm
lesson
the
for me.
same
And
way. For me, it's like I was widowed at 31, and for a long time I was angry. I was angry with the world. I was angry at everything. And right after my wife passed away in '08, and then right after, probably a year from when she passed, my sister from my father's side found me on Facebook, because I hadn't seen my father in 25 years. And she found me on Facebook. She sent me a message. She said, "Hey, I have a brother by the same name." And I said, "Yeah, I'm him. How you do?" When we reconnected, and I got to reconnect with my father. So this was May of 2009. She says, "Hey, I want to send you a plane ticket, because I want you to come to Puerto Rico. You're going to be a Father's Day gift for my father, my older brother, and my younger brother, who I hadn't met yet. It would have been the first time me and him really got to meet each other face to face." And I was like, "Cool, fine." So I get there Friday night, the weekend of Father's Day. I get to sit down. My dad he's had some health issues. He's struggling with diabetes and all this other stuff. And I get to and so when I get there, she goes, "Hey, stay right here. I'm gonna go in the back, and I'm gonna say, 'Hey, Dad, I got,'" because she said she always gave him his Father's Day gift ahead of time. And so she goes, "I'm gonna you want your gift?" She was like, "Yeah, sure." So I walk in the room, and he just lights up, like, oh my God, because we had spoken and we had seen each other through the computer, but for him to see me in person, like, he lit up. And we spoke, and we got a lot of things off our chest, and I forgave him, and I moved. I had already moved on, but I guess it was something we both needed. And then that night, me and my little brother, we bonded. We went out, and so the next morning, he goes. My dad has breakfast, and he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna go take a nap. Tell Blanca to bring the card, and we're gonna go shopping, and we're gonna have a great dinner tonight." So he lays down, and he doesn't wake up. And so, yeah, that Saturday,
Wow.
that next day, he passes away. And it was like, what is going on? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, and so I was, and again, it was like, it was crazy because it was like 4 or 5 years I lost. It was my wife. I lost my father. I lost my brother. I lost my uncle. I lose my other brother.
Mm.
So all these losses, and I'm like, what is going on? And I blame. I don't know. I was like, what am I doing wrong? Why is this happening?
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started realizing, listen, I can't control everything. I can't continue to be angry and being
Yeah.
self-destructive and drinking and doing all. And when I started realizing that and started changing, I met someone else, and we've been together since 2013, and it's just been great. It's just I'm back on. I had already been when I was with my first wife. I would started my self development journey,
Mm-hmm.
and when I lost her, I just lost my way.
Mm.
And for me to, and then when I found my wife that I'm with now, she brought me back into my self development and me and growing. And so I have now, with everything that's going on, I appreciate life. I look at it every day like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm not gonna wake, if I'm awake or not. So I just try to have as much fun and do what I want to do throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's an incredible story. And, hats off to you for kind of reconnecting with who you are and finding the things that bring you joy and pleasure in the world and then going after those. So that's amazing. That's a very beautiful story. So thank you for sharing that.
No, it's from at first when I first started, I didn't really share my story.
Mm-hmm.
But when I shared it, and people were like, you, why don't you have a story to share? And I just felt I didn't want to take away from anybody else. Like my guests, I wanted it to be about them. So I'm realizing more and more that people need to hear that because someone might be going through the same thing I went through, and realize
Absolutely.
that, hey, he made it through this. He made it through some real dark times, and it's I still miss. Of course, I miss them, but they're always going to be with me.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't continue to go down that path. I really needed to start enjoying life. I couldn't just
Mm.
let it slip away.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think that's the beautiful thing about humanity. So people often say, because I'm a very optimistic person, and I'm always looking for the positive, the silver lining, all that kind of stuff. And people are like, "What? How can you? What gives you so much hope?" And humanity gives me hope. I mean, the thing is, I can't remember the exact statistic, but it's like a 1 in 14 trillion chance that each of us are sitting right here right now, that we are the individuals who we are, right? And so every person, I just really believe that if every person like figured out how to live their best life, the life that makes them the happiest, that brings them the greatest amount of joy, that, oh my God, the world would just be so much more of an amazing place. And are there bad people in the world? Yes, there are bad people in the world. But you know what? My experience having worked in so many countries and so many different cultures is that there are a lot more good people in the world than there are bad people in the world. And if we just focus on that, and we acknowledge each other's stories, you know being a human being is about going through the pain and coming out of it on the other side having grown, right? We're all broken, we're all damaged, we've all had shitty things happen to us in our lives. We've either
Yeah.
overcome that and grown into and use those experiences to teach others, or to inform who we are in the world. And and we either do that or we let them beat us down and defeat us. And you know I mean, I suffer from different mental illnesses and all sorts of things. And yeah, I mean, I could sit and say, oh yeah, I have bipolar too, and that that means X and Y. Well, you know what, I just don't I don't want to be defined by that. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I don't want to be defined by that, right? It's like there are other things in the world. I get to define that. I get to put my label on myself. I get to live to the label that I want the world to see. And that's what you're doing. You're creating your own label. You're defining who you are and showing the world, hey, this is who I am. It's not up for you. Can't judge. You can't determine how somebody else is going to react to your story, whether they love it, appreciate it, hate it, judge you for it, whatever. You can't control that, right? But you can control the message that you share. And I think what you just shared is just absolutely beautiful. And I just I'm very honored that you shared it with us. And I hope that everybody listening is honored that you shared that with us, because that vulnerability is what shows everybody our humanity. And I talk about that a lot in my work. It's like most people go in, they think negotiation and they think two things. They think conflict and contracts. And the reality is that while, conflict is part of any relationship, every single relationship has conflict. I've been married to my husband for 28 years. And, the deal that we entered into is not 28 years ago is not the same deal that we have today. And we've had plenty of conflicts along the way that have caused us to renegotiate what that relationship looks like. The same is true in business. If we want to be in business for a long period of time and we want to have customers for long periods of time, those relationships are going to have bumps in the road, and acknowledging them, giving each other the grace to explore them and figure out, are these fixable issues or not fixable issues? And if they're not fixable issues, I'll help you find somebody else who can fix them, right? And just giving each other the ability to do that, the permission to do that, and being transparent. Those things, like what you just shared, those things are what make humanity so hopeful, that give us that hope that tomorrow is going to be an even better day than today.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why that's how I try to live my life, is live my, like, I do what I want to do. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm not hurting myself. I'm just loving what I'm doing right now. And I love the space that I'm in. I love the people I'm surrounding myself with. It's just me. And you can tell that the energy that I'm putting out there, I'm just like, I'm speaking to some great people. I'm having some great moments with people in these conversations, and just me being able to be able to tell my story and be able to hear you speak and talk about what you're doing and everything else. I enjoy this. I take this and love it, because I don't know everything. So the more I can learn and the more I can grow, and whatever I can apply to whatever I'm doing, that's what I'll do. And I'm having a great time doing it. I'm probably recording 5 episodes. I'm recording 5 podcasts a week, probably a little bit more sometimes. There was days last month, there was probably 2 or 3 days I recorded 4 episodes.
Wow.
And I maintained the same energy throughout the 4 episodes.
Yeah.
That from the first episode all the way to the last, that when that person in that last episode, they're like, dude, you said you recorded how many shows today? I said, this is the 4th one. And they go, I appreciate the energy you put into this. I said, why? He says, because this is the 4th show and you probably still you're still wound up, you're still energized, you're still out there.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, because this is not draining. This is adrenaline for me. This is keeping me awake. This is what has all that energy flowing. So when I get to be behind the mic and speak to someone, there's no drain in me. There's like, okay, the battery's just charged up.
Yeah, but that's the thing, when you're working in flow with what you are meant to be doing, with what you're passionate about, it's not draining. It's, I get up at between 4 and 4:30 in the morning most days. And I'm totally a morning person, and I have always been a morning person. and I just look forward to getting the day started. It just, I just love what I do. And it's just, yeah. And I'm with you. It's, I've put together a life. I've created a life for myself that suits me. And guess what? I'm the only one it has to suit. I'm the only one who has to find joy in my life. I don't care if anyone else finds joy in my life. I hope that I'm able to positively impact people and make an impression on their life, and that I can, motivate them to change certain things in their life. But that's not on me to do that, right? All I can do is live, like I said, live my best life and be an example to others that they can live their best lives too. And so
Yeah.
that's really what that's what I hope to achieve. That's the biggest goal.
Yeah. And I feel the same way. I can only control what I like. Someone at work today, he was like, "Oh, so it had something to do with the COVID," and I'm like, I don't care." He's like, "What do you mean you don't care?" I'm like, it's because I'm over it. It's like, what? Okay, I'm vaccinated. Some people are not vaccinated. That's fine. That's on them. It was my choice to get vaccinated. I'm not gonna be angry at someone else because they didn't want to do this, or I'm over it. I'm just gonna continue to do what I'm doing. I'm gonna continue to enjoy life, continue to focus on my family, continue to. If I start worrying about all that stuff, they've won.
Yeah. And what value is there? I mean, what does it really do, right? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like, I think that as I've gotten older, right, as we all do, um, the only way to escape old age is to die young, right? And none of us want to do that, and that sucks when that happens. And so, getting older, one of the things that I've learned is to kind of to sit back and say, is this really a fight or a conversation that I need to have? Is my opinion really going to influence somebody else? Is it going to sway somebody else's viewpoint? Or is it just me needing to be heard, or needing to have somebody, hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? Because if it's just the latter, then that's not very value add. And so what am I doing? What am I doing today? What am I saying today? What am I acting today? How am I behaving today that adds value to myself as well as to other people? And as long as I judge myself based on that, I think I'm doing okay, right? It's and you know, but sitting and passing judgment on other people because of their own life decisions is not, it's not my place to do that. That's not my responsibility nor my obligation. So,
Yeah.
you know, who the hell am I? My life's totally fucked up. Excuse my language.
Oh no, no, you're good. This on this podcast you can curse.
But
People be
yeah, I
like,
mean, like,
I'm sure.
my
No,
life is
listen,
as fucked
I,
up as the next person. So,
listen. I do not trust anyone who does not curse.
well, I swear like the rancher that I grew up being. So,
Listen, if you do not curse, there's something wrong. But no, you have to someone. Yeah, I can't. I don't know. I have to drop a one F, but
oh
it doesn't
yeah,
make you a bad
yeah.
person. Listen, sometimes
No,
you need to just like, oh fuck.
well, in support of that, there's an article in my news feed today that teams that swear actually are tighter knit teams, which I thought was hilarious. And I'm like, how much taxpayer money went to fund that study? I'm all for it. I'm good on that one.
No, it's funny because there's a couple of people I work with, and and we just be like this is older gentleman Murray, and I bust his chops, but it's out of fun, and he live, and we just have a good time. And he's like he's real he's a great man, he's a good fun guy, but he's slow when he's dealing. So he's at the table
He's
dealing.
deliberate. He's not slow. He's deliberate.
No, he's slow. So he goes. So he goes to the customers. Oh, he says, "I'm sorry if I'm a little slow today." and I just happen to walk by, and I turn around and I look at him. Today, you're sorry you're a little bit slow today. And he looks at me. He goes, "Oh, Fredo, fuck you." And we just start laughing because I just walked by right at this right time when he goes, "I'm so sorry if I'm a little slow today." And I'm like, "A little slow today? You slow every day, buddy. What are you talking about?" And we just started laughing. But if you can't do that at work and have a good time and be able to, it's just not worth it. Like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, and what I find that, having fun is as much about me being a bit self-deprecating, acknowledging my own faults and laughing at myself, um, than anything. And I'm reacquainting myself. I'm finding that I have actually a wicked sense of humor when I want to, and that's been kind of fun to reconnect with my sense of humor. So I lost it for a while, but it's coming back. So.
You know what it is? I'm realizing that as I get older, and my mom, she's a prime example of this. She's 82 years old. She has no filter. Like whatever pops in her head, she will say it. And you just sometimes you be like, "Ma, you can't say that." But she has no filter. It just comes out. If she thinks it, she's gonna say it. And sometimes you be like, "Yo, you can't say those things." But it's funny because now I'm realizing as I get older, I'm like, yeah, you just lose the filter. You just like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm not sugarcoating it for anyone else anymore. Like, you know what? Here you go. Is no.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, my parents don't have much filter either, so I've tried to put one in, and I have a little filter, but no. And one of my
Yeah.
daughters has no filter whatsoever at all. No, it's like literally like your mother. But I
But
appreciate that.
yeah, it says sometimes you just have to. But we've been talking this whole time, and you've mentioned your book,
Yes.
but we really haven't spoken about it. And it's titled "Why Not Ask: A Conversation About Getting More."
Exactly. Yep. I just published a couple weeks ago or a week ago, and it's hit the.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It hit Amazon #1 new release in 3 categories and hit the bestseller, I think, in 7. And so, yeah, I'm super excited about it. It's really kind of a conversation about my story, from going from homeless to Harvard and beyond, and the lessons I learned about renegotiating with myself, negotiating with others, how to ask for help, and how to negotiate both on a personal and a professional basis. And so it talks about the importance of getting clarity, the importance of understanding who you are as a negotiator and thinking about your counterparts and getting really curious about who they are and what drives them, to how do I renegotiate a relationship that's not working for me. And it has full of stories and examples and tips that people can take and go apply immediately into their own lives and into their own work. And it was a lot of fun to write. And I got bit by the writing a book bug, and I'm already working on book #2. So, but we'll get this one kind of going and stuff. But yeah, so it's available anywhere books are sold, but most easily available on Amazon. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm really proud of the work, and it's been getting great feedback so far. I woke up this morning to this amazing text from somebody whose name wasn't even in my phone book, and I'm like, who sent this to me? And then I figured it out, but it was just an amazing text about how she got it, and she thought, it was gonna, she started reading it like 5 o'clock in the morning, and then she couldn't put it down. She had to finish reading it. And she's like, I never thought that this book, she goes, I knew I'd learned something, but I never thought that I'd pick it up and not be able to put it down until I finished it. And so that was pretty exciting to get that. That was a great way to start my day today.
That's awesome. Definitely awesome. It's funny because starting the podcast has led me to starting a production company, which I've gained my first real client, major client, this past week.
Congratulations. That's awesome. That's a huge win. Good for you.
Yeah. Like I said, I have a great team. So my nephew, that's my right hand man. We're publishing his book. So that's something else we're getting done as a company is publishing his book. I've bought 10 IBMS numbers, whatever it's called, whatever.
ISBN numbers.
ISBN, yeah. I own 10 of them.
Bowker.com.
Yeah, yes.
Yep.
So I own 10 of them.
I bought that same package.
Yeah. So I own 10 of them. So I will be, and he probably owns 10 of them as well. But he's used 2 of them on his first book, which he self-published a couple of years ago, and he just threw it out there. He didn't do anything. It was just raw, and so he pulled it off the shelves and everything. And now the second book that he's releasing, we actually invested in getting a ghostwriter to come help us touch it up and fix it and work on it. And it's almost complete. We should hopefully be releasing sometime this month. And it's great to be able to help him get this done. To see him excited about it. That to me is amazing, to be able to help someone I love get something that he really wants accomplished done.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So eventually I will also be releasing a book. I'm going to take some listen, this
Everyone
podcast
should write a book.
Yeah. I have enough content with the 108 episodes I've released. That's not even the almost 100 episodes I have in story, and I'm continuing recording. So it's exciting. It's exciting.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on that. That's fantastic. Everyone should write a book. Everybody listening, you should write a book. It's one of the most, it's just so cool. And then once it's out and people, like, the validation is just incredible. And the feedback it just feels so good. And it's really cool to be able to say, hey, you can go check out my book. If you're curious about my philosophies, go read my book, right? It's just it's such a powerful tool. And so I'm very excited to be able to say that I'm an author, and I have absolutely been bit by the bug. So I've got my second one we're writing it now. I have a third one that'll be based off my podcast that's halfway written. I have a fourth title and a fifth concept. So I've got like 5, total of 5 books, like in my thinking, in my somewhere in my vision. And so it's very cool. Very cool.
With the podcast alone, I've probably had like 2 already in my head that
absolutely.
I know one is going to be on some of the nuggets that some of the guests have shared, and so that's going to be great. And then just the fact, just the journey, just writing about the journey into the podcast, and so exactly like you, it's just been my brain's just been working overtime, and it's been crazy. It was crazy since I've started podcasting. I say the creative juices just started coming out of me. Like, I didn't know I was this creative. I didn't know I could do the things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't. I was good at sports and stuff like that, but I didn't know I can do stuff like this. Like earlier this year, I made a logo for my cousin, and it was just me messing around on Canva, and I just made a logo for him, and I said, here you go. And one of his friends who owns a food truck saw it, and he was like, yo, where did you get that from? He's like, oh, my cousin made it for me. So he put us in contact with each other, and I sold him a logo. And so there's just so many different things that have come, and I've just been blessed to have all these things
Mhm.
just happen, and I'm loving it.
Yeah. And creativity comes in many different flavors. So, I mean, people think creativity and they think, art and they think music, and it's like creativity. I mean, to be an effective negotiator, I have to be very creative. It requires a lot of creativity to figure out how do I get two people with two slightly different objectives fully aligned on what they're going to do, right? And that requires some creativity, and that's, I think honestly, I think everybody is creative. We just approach creativity in a different way. I mean, it takes creativity to create a process to organize people, right? To organize people in a way that's going to be usable, right? And so, on the surface, somebody might say that's not creativity, but I'm like, really? Isn't it? Because if you want me to stay organized, and I'm not likely to stay organized because that's not one of my strong suits, how and you have to be creative to figure out a solution that's actually going to work for me, right? That takes creativity. And so I love creativity because I just think it comes in so many different ways, and we express it in so many different ways, and we all are creative, and it's a matter of where we apply that creativity and how others get to benefit from it. So
Yeah, definitely. But now we come to the time. Actually, no, we're gonna play a little game before we do anything
all
else.
right, let's do it.
All right, all right. So it's called "Would You Rather."
Got it.
All right, all right. So the first one is, let's see. Would you rather work with dead people in a mortuary or work in the busiest ER trauma unit in the world?
Busiest trauma unit in the world.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. That's not that bad. All right. Let's see what else. Okay. Would you rather face a fork in the road or be forced to pick between three doors?
Face a fork in the road.
Face the fork in the road.
Yep.
Less choices.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
I actually don't like tons of options. I mean, you can make options out of everything, but no, I don't like being forced to do anything. So that was like that was the key word there that just went, oh no, not if I have to be forced. No, but fork in the road, yeah. Because then there are all
Yeah.
sorts of different paths that each fork can take me down. So, but I get to choose that option. So
All right. Would you rather fart in an elevator full of strangers or belch loudly while giving an important presentation at work?
I'd rather belch loudly, because then I'd use it as an opportunity to make fun of myself and create a teaching moment out of it.
But hey, but if it's a silent and deadly fart, they won't know it was you.
No, but I would, and I'd turn bright red.
Yeah.
I have too many tells. There's no way I can hide it. Okay, I love any podcast where you get to talk about belching and farting is a good show for me.
All right. Last one. Last one.
All right.
Would you rather blow your nose with sandpaper or use bubble wrap instead of toilet paper?
Bubble wrap instead of toilet paper. I'm not into the pain. And can you see this nose? It's huge. They take a lot of sandpaper to blow on to do that on this nose. Besides, if you take the bubble wrap and if you squeeze it between your cheeks just right, it might feel good popping it. There you go.
All right, and that
was
it
in really
for
good
Would You
shape
Rather.
to do that, though. I am not in that kind of shape.
All right. So
You might
now
want to cut
it's part
that
of the
last
show.
part.
No, it's fine. But now it's part of the show where you get to plug away and let everybody know all your info.
Awesome. I mean, the easiest way to reach me is if you go to whynotaskbook.com, you can find me there. You can find me on LinkedIn. And those are the easiest ways. And you can also go to my website, which is vennegotiation.com. And if you go there, I've got a free gift for people if they're up for putting their emails in something. And I'll send you a free gift. But it looks weird when you type Venn Negotiation because it is 3 N's in a row. So, but vennegotiation.com.
So you hear that, people? vennegotiation.com. Definitely check her out. Don't leave just yet. I'm going to do my shout outs. We're going to talk after we're off the air for a little bit. But I really do appreciate you being on. It was great having you on.
Well, thank you for having me. It was such an honor. Loved our conversation.
No, it was great. It was a blast. I appreciate that you was my second show officially with video.
Awesome. It was great.
All right. So now it's time for shout outs. Big shout out to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady, Fina. Love you, baby. Thank you for all the support and I appreciate everything you do for me. And as always, a big, big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless you. Be safe. And you know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out. Oh, that was the wrong one. I don't even think I have a...
Welcome to Stuck in My Mind podcast, the show.
See, I'm just messing this up right now. I don't think I have an outro. But you know what? Wait, do I? No, I don't have one. I'm just going to have to play the audio and us just stand here and just look pretty.
Thanks for listening. Listen on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, and TuneIn. Find us on social media on Twitter at @wise_b_blunt, Instagram at @wise_b_blunt, and a Facebook fan page, www.facebook.com/wise76. Check back soon for new episodes. Until next time, peace out.